Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for clicking when you saw this video. So just yesterday, Kenyans in Washington DC went to protest in front of the IMF office, that's International Monetary Fund office, and they stated or gave a stern warning to IMF to stop borrowing money to the Kenyan government. They said they do not need their funds, they do not need their money. They said a lot of things because they also used that opportunity to honor the fallen heroes. That's the people that had died during the Gen Z protest, because their pictures were everywhere. You just see some of them on the streets, like even the vehicles were passing and were honking at them to show their support and solidarity. So guys, follow me, let's watch this video together and see what they told IMF during their own protest in the US, just in front of the IMF office. Let's go, guys.
Fruit of our labor, fill every heart with thanksgiving.
All right, makofi kwa Tina. A big round of applause for Tina. Akenya eh? Yeah. Akenya eh? Yeah. Akenya. Okay, so we're gonna get started with our first speaker, but before we get started, it's very, very important to know why we are coming out here at the IMF building to protest, because a number of people are asking the question. This is a situation, it's an issue with the Kenyan president. Yes, we have an issue with the Kenyan president and a number of Kenyan leaders. So people are asking, why are we coming to the International Monetary Fund to protest? Let's remember the finance bill that was being rejected was an IMF-inspired finance bill, meaning IMF writes these prescriptions without considering what people in Kenya are thinking or what repercussions it's gonna have, and it results in a lot of poverty, a lot of jobs lost, a lot of manufacturing lost. So that's the reason why we are here, because unfortunately this IMF-inspired finance bill has led to more than 52 deaths. And I think, we need to start coming out with those pictures of the dead, because we need the IMF to understand that now they have blood on their hands. African countries have been complaining about this for a very, very long time, but now there's bloodshed involved. There was poverty, there was austerity measures, there was so many other things, but now I think for the first time there is blood. People were killed. We have people ranging from the ages of 12 to around 36 years old, young people being killed. So this is something that the IMF needs to understand. The message needs to go out there, and we need to make them know that they need to be culpable for these deaths, and they need to take care of these families of the people who passed away as a result of this finance bill. So we are still expecting people to come. Akenya eh? Yeah. Akenya eh? Yeah. Wakenya mpo? Do I have any DC people here? DC people in the building? Okay, is there any Virginia people in the building? Any Virginia people? Yeah. Watu wa Virginia, it seems there's no Virginia people in the building. Okay. Sawa. Any Maryland people in the building? Yeah, any Maryland people in the building? Okay, so we're gonna get started right away, and our first speaker of the day is gonna be Baraza. Baraza is an environmental and social justice organizer, and he's also previously run for parliament in Kenya. Baraza, karibu sana.
Can you hear me? So the way we know that the IMF knows that they are culpable, the way we know. So after this protest and street, quote-unquote, defense of our national sovereignty spilled out into the streets of Kenya, the IMF remained loudly quiet. they remained very quiet, full knowing that they were the ones who were behind this protest. In fact, in May of 2024, they had warned the Kenya government. They had warned the Kenya government that this protest would happen. What they did not estimate was the extent to which it would affect the Kenyan people, but also how much, how many Gen Zs particularly, our youth, our young, brave people, would come out to protest. Then, we decided as a community to come out here to protest. The first thing we did was to put our press releases out, but also posters. Almost immediately, after 1 whole month of silence, this actually was within 12 hours, somewhere in this building, the spokesperson for the IMF then came out saying that, oh, now we sympathize with the people who are hurt. Now we sympathize with the Kenyans who are affected. Now we sympathize with the families. Now we are here to say we are partners with the Kenyan people and the Kenyan government. Are these our partners? Are they our partners or are they our oppressors? Are they our partners or are they our oppressors? Oppressors. Do we want them in our country or do we want them out? Wow. Okay. So we actually put out this statement, and I'll read it just so that we get a sense of, number one, why we know, not why we think, but why we know that these people are complicit. We released this statement on June 16th. I believe on June 17th we had a spokesperson from this building come out and try to sort of defend the IMF. Kenyans living in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia are holding a protest today at the International Monetary Fund headquarters to demand accountability for the deaths of 41 Kenyans. By the time of writing, we had 41, and now we know there are more than 50. And these are just the ones that are reported as official figures. Hundreds, maybe even thousands, have been injured during these protests, during IMF-backed austerity measures on Kenya. The peaceful protests have also led to forced disappearances and abductions of young Kenyans ranging from the age of 17 to 30. Social media influencers and activists by the Ruto regime with the complicit silence of the IMF. Kenyans are mourning the loss of our innocent lives, lost during these protests, ignited by the IMF-backed Finance Bill 2024. We demand, say we demand. We demand. We demand. We demand. We demand that the IMF take full responsibility for the deaths of youth opposing their neo-colonial programs of death entrapment. These measures, instead of improving the lives of Kenyans, have exacerbated economic hardships and pushed many Kenyans to the brink. Furthermore, the excessive use of force against peaceful protesters and demonstrators reflect a callous disregard for human rights and democratic freedom, not just by the Ruto regime, but also by the IMF. We call it the IMF Ruto Axis. Say IMF Ruto Axis.
IMF Ruto Axis.
Kenyans in the diaspora condemn IMF's loud silence.
Loud.
We condemn the IMF's loud silence for more than 2 weeks and subsequent attempts to avoid responsibility for the plights of young Kenyans who are being assassinated, who are being abducted, and who are being held incommunicado for exercising their constitutional rights to protest and to picket and to present petitions to their government. We demand that the IMF take full financial responsibility for compensating and supporting the families of the more than 50 Kenyans who were murdered at the hands of their partner, the President of Kenya, Ruto, who was trying to implement their devastating policies. In May 2024, and this is how we know, the IMF in fact warned Ruto of the risk of civil unrest if the government proceeded to pass their own policies. I don't even call it the Finance Bill 2024 anymore. I call it the IMF Bill. Say IMF Bill.
IMF bill.
IMF Bill.
IMF bill.
This suggested that they had intelligence and they were aware by experience of the consequences of their policies. And we know they've done this not just in Kenya, but other parts of the world. Then, curiously, on July 11th, 2024, the IMF, someone in this building, released a vague statement attempting to distance itself. Say boo. 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 They were trying to distance themselves from their policies, trying to distance themselves for the mayhem and killing that has gone on in Kenya. And we are here to tell them that they are responsible. Say, IMF is responsible.
IMF is responsible.
Because they knowingly and negligently instigated a civil conflict in Kenya. And this was only after the people who are standing here today announced their intention to protest here today. And we are here to tell the world that we know who was responsible for the deaths of the young people who we are representing here today. The people of Kenya are resolute in their determination to seek accountability and justice, and also to seek partners who can support them in pursuing legal redress for the victims of the Gen Z uprising against the IMF bill that was directly imposed on the Kenyan people by the IMF. How is that possible? Because in 2019, the US Supreme Court ruled that the IMF and the World Bank and other Bretton Woods institutions can be sued in US courts for their roles in supporting programs that cause destruction and harm to recipient communities globally. The IMF structural adjustment programs that originated the Ruto regime's IMF/Finance Bill 2024 are directly responsible for at least 50 deaths, hundreds of injuries, abductions, and destruction of billions of dollars worth of property in Kenya. We are here to say that the IMF bears ultimate responsibility for the dire economic decisions that have precipitated these protests. Viva Kenya, viva!
Viva! Viva! Manner, we want to call into account Mr. William Ruto to remind him that we do not want the policies of Kenyans to be enacted in foreign institutions. We want to look at our country, determine what we need and what we need to do as a people without any external influence. And we also want to remind him that when we protested and we said that we are rejecting the finance bill and we need the cabinet to be dissolved, what we meant is that we need cabinet secretaries who are competitive and who deliver the mandate of Kenyans. So we are telling the Kenyan president, when we say drain the swamp, we meant we want all the cabinet secretaries to go. We do not want the same people to be brought back into the same offices that they have failed. So what we are reminding the Kenyan president that we want competitive leaders, people who will deliver the mandates of the country, and people who understand the economic policies that we need to be enacted, so that external institutions like the IMF do not come in and dictate how we run our macro and micro policies in Kenya.
We have 53 people with blood on the soil. And who's culpable? IMF. We are not making our president any less culpable because this is a collusion. This is a collusion, and this problem started before. It wasn't this finance bill. If you just go back on YouTube, from way back in 2018, people have been complaining about these new taxes. They were taxing bread. They were taxing sanitary towels. They were taxing private vehicles. They were taxing everything that they could possibly tax so that they can raise more money and budget more corruption with themselves.
So guys, you guys have heard what they said, during the protests at the IMF headquarters in Washington DC, and they are saying that IMF should leave Kenya and leave their government, leave everything, stop borrowing their money that they no longer want. Okay, and you can see them also printed the some flags where they say Ruto must go, that they are no longer interested in his governance and everything. And they also stated that this thing has not even started just today. It has started long ago, you know, right from 5 years ago, that people have been complaining about so many taxes, you know. Everything has been taxed: sanitary towel, private vehicles, everything has been taxed on. Anyway guys, this is where we'll bring it to a close. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Okay, what's your thoughts in the comment section? Please do share with us. Okay, and I'll be here to read from you and of course respond as well. Thank you so much guys for watching. See you guys on my next video. Bye guys.